Good day. My name is Martin Schweiger. I'm a patent attorney in Singapore and also a powerlifter. And I started this vlog a few days ago. Today is Tuesday, 21st January 2025. This is one day before my 60th birthday. And if everything goes well, then I made it after 60, which is not normal. I've lost quite a few friends before that happened, because of several reasons. I don't want to die early, so that's why, among others, I'm doing these daily walks. I started that. Can I cross? I think so. These daily walks after accident in 2023, where I ripped my quadriceps tendon, and followed by a metabolic disorder, quite severe. So my doctor told me that my blood picture looks like the one of someone who had a heart attack, but I didn't have one. It was just all the values were so bad, so I was shocked. And first thing is, I lost weight, brought my blood glucose in order, no more spikes, and that really helped a lot. Within 3 weeks, this diabetes problem was solved. But I told you earlier about that, but I will tell you more, especially how I solved it, using a patch here at the arm that measures my blood glucose continuously. I believe that's really the first thing that people that are fat and immobile, like I was, after doing nothing for 4 months after my accident, I really became fat, something like 133, 34 kg. Actually, I didn't put on so much weight because I had the same weight just the day before the accident, where I was invited to the World Championship in powerlifting. I was really excited. And then the accident happened. I slipped on a staircase in a water puddle, and then so I ripped my quadriceps tendon. That was weakened because of tendonitis before. That's another thing. Now for another day. I do this vlog on a daily basis, just reusing my time when I walk. And I can show you also some neighborhoods in Singapore. It's nice, right? This is how it looks like here. So where to start? Whenever I can, I do 2 fasting days per week. Fasting day means you don't take in food that the body could use for producing energy. That's a problem, a general description. And when I say food, it's not only edible food, but also food that you can drink, means alcohol, for example. So no alcohol during a fasting day, and also nothing that contains sugar, for example. But I don't drink these sugar drinks anyway, because that is really bad for the control of the blood glucose level. I also don't drink beer anymore most of the time, because there's nothing better than a cold beer and a pretzel and Weißwurst, white sausage, and maybe also meatloaf, Bavarian meatloaf in a bun, German Semmel. And you need a beer for that, because otherwise it doesn't taste. But that's for a cheat day, which is once a month when we have the German evening in Singapore, which I organized since 18 years ago. Can you see how nice Singapore can be? It's really cool. Yeah. So, fasting day. I have two sorts of fasting days. The first one is water fasting, which means only drink water, tea or coffee. Today is my water fasting day, and it's Tuesday. Every Tuesday I do that. Except for periods like Christmas, where you're invited all the time, and it's difficult. I also block my Tuesdays and the Wednesdays for lunch appointments, because a lunch appointment is very boring if you are at the lunch appointment and you cannot have lunch because you're fasting. I did that once, and it all went well, but I don't do this again. So I blocked my appointments for the fasting day. So fasting day means 24 hours only water, tea, coffee. My body weight in the morning was 110.6 kg. That's more than yesterday. And I have a suspect, because yesterday evening I had a very large yogurt, and I still had some strawberry jam in my fridge, and I thought I put it in so that I can throw the glass away. Maybe not a good idea, but it doesn't matter. I need to lose 8 kg within a month, and this month starts today. My competition is in exactly 1 month from now. Powerlifting National Singapore. And it's my plan to have at least one national record. One. But hopefully 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. Actually, when I have 3, I also have 4 automatically. Because the 4th one would be the accumulated results of the first 3. So it's either 1, 2 or 4 national records. Good. Must lock the camera again. So, as you can see, it's also raining currently. That was why the floor was slippery and this camera detached. Now, Wednesday would be dry fasting tomorrow, but I report separately. Dry fasting means that I go to bed the day before, Tuesday, having done water fast all day long, and then next day I get up, nothing, not even water, nothing. Dry fasting is much more efficient than water fasting, that's why I do it. And when I say efficient, I mean go into ketosis mode. Ketosis means that the body runs on body fat and not on glucose, which is stored in the muscles, in the liver, and also in the blood if you have eaten something that is not stored but is put there. by the liver from the food that you eat. And that brings me to the point that I wanted to make. The body can, or the cells of the body can run on more than one single fuel. And I've recently found a scientific study about metabolic flexibility. And I'm not a biologist and not a chemist. I'm an engineer by training, but the special one, because I majored in measurement and control theory. And what I found is that if you talk about metabolism, it's a very complex system that runs according to my engineering toolbox. So the problem is I have difficulties with the terms used in biology and in nutrition, but the principles are the same, so I can apply what I've learned as an engineer in nutrition. Very noisy. Is this cool? That's why I like walking in a urban environment, because there's always something to see. Like here, you see people sitting, waiting in front of my clinic. This is where I get all my blood tests done. It's very cheap. Let's go back. Metabolic flexibility. So the fasting, many people confuse that. The fasting is not meant for losing weight in the first place. Of course, fasting is a side effect. Losing weight is a side effect of fasting, and it's simply because you don't take up energy from outside, so you need to burn energy that is inside the body, and that's most of the time fat, but also protein, and that would, doing so, would reduce your weight, your body weight. Fasting, as I see it, has more impact on metabolic flexibility. Fasting, if done correctly, is switching from one type of fuel, to another type of fuel, and maybe even to a third type of fuel, and then back. The first type of fuel for most of us is glucose. And there's a process called oxidative phosphorylation. And because this is a word that is difficult to pronounce, the people who regularly work with that term, they have dubbed it OxPhos. OxPhos is easier than oxidative phosphorylation. OxPhos. Yeah? So how does OxPhos work? There's glucose in the blood, then the glucose would enter the cells of the body, and the inside of the cells has a liquid that's called cytoplasm, and then in the cytoplasm there's a process going on which is called glycolysis. In German we would say glycolyse. This is why I pronounce it like glycolysis rather as a German and not glycolysis. Yeah. By the way, that's a nice building. It looks like as if it were taken from somewhere Boston, put into the center of Singapore. So now back to our glycolysis. So that glycolysis would produce a substance from the glucose that is called pyruvate. And that pyruvate is then grabbed by the mitochondria in healthy cells and then converted into an energy currency which is called ATP. Complicated name, you don't need to know. The important thing is, in a healthy cell, the mitochondria are immediately after being produced picking up the pyruvate and convert it into ATP, and then the cell can do all sorts of stuff with the ATP, namely what's the cell made for. Yeah? That's for the healthy cell. Another type of fuel, and that reminds me, when I was in the army, I had an army truck in my group, a very old one from World War II, or immediately above. The brand is MAN, and it had a engine that could also run on several fuels. And there was a screw in the injection pump that you could adjust so that it can run on everything from lacquer thinner over petrol, over diesel, over diluted shoe cream, alcohol, whatever, you name it. And of course, this thing was so old and it had only something like 70 horsepower for a total weight of 5 tons. So it was very slow. And what we did is we ran it on the best fuel ever, which is the diesel, and we opened the screw to the max. So it consumed something like 100 liters per 100 kilometers, which is about 1 mile per gallon, could that be? Or 2 miles per gallon, something like that. So, when I talk about switching between different fuels in the body, it's a bit the same. You just make it run on different fuels. So, and while the normal fuel for the body is glucose, this will be a long lecture today, but I'm also only halfway through with my 7,000 steps. Okay, normal glucose, pyruvate, mitochondria, club, ATP. Now, the next one that comes to my mind for a normal cell when you're not fasting is alcohol. Alcohol is quite cool because you don't need the digestion for taking it up into your body. It goes directly from the stomach and from the small intestines into the bloodstream and then to the liver. and it's broken down in the liver to something that is called acetaldehyde. I may pronounce it wrongly, but forgive me, I'm the engineer. And then after that it would be broken down to acetate, which is non-toxic, different from the acetaldehyde. So the toxic part is bad for the entire body, not only for the liver but also for everything that comes into contact with it. That can be nerve cells, that can be the linings of blood vessels, brain comes to my mind. No. Anyway, so the acetate enters the cell and again is picked up. Now I'm on thin ice, I believe. What I say is right, but somehow the mitochondria are involved, and the mitochondria, they put this, convert it into acetyl CoA, whatever that is a central substance, and then from there it goes into the citric acid cycle, which is also called the Krebs cycle. Has nothing to do with cancer, although the German word for Krebs means cancer. So but probably it's the name of the person who discovered that cycle. So the mitochondria again, right? Somehow they are central in the cell and you can train them or not, and yeah, probably you can train the cell who makes the mitochondria, because the mitochondria don't reproduce themselves. Anyway, so this is my engineering biochemistry. The important thing is to switch between different fuels, and if you switch to alcohol, that works. It's not the healthiest because of this acetaldehyde. Yeah. So we have two fuels. Now the third one is ketones. The ketones you can add from outside, but it's not really in normal fuels, normal food. So the ketones are produced by the body, and that's where our fat comes in. Because if the body has used up all the glucose in the body, and I can tell you this is a painful matter, because whenever I do my water fasting day, then I can really feel how the body will try to squeeze out the glucose from the muscle and the liver and from, I don't know from which tissue, but I can feel this is something like a pain, and then there's this hunger feeling, and I mean that all became less prominent since I started this fasting once a week. In the beginning it took me 2-3 hours, and I went sleeping before. Here, police car, seldom seen in Singapore, very seldom, but cool. I'm always happy when I see them, and I show them a thumbs up. Very cool place here in Singapore. You don't need to fear for your life. There's no knife attack here. Okay, back to our ketosis. So we have now the moment when the painful moment is over. The body has discovered or found out there's no more glucose to squeeze out from any tissue in the body. So then there would be a signal sent to the fat cells, yeah, all over the body. That's done, I guess, a hormone. There's no nerve that would do that. So there's like some chemistry sent out to every cell, but the blood cells would, the fat cells would react, and then they release triglycerides. Triglyceride is a group of substances, and the triglycerides are then broken down into glycerol, which is one substance, and some free fatty acids. I don't know why this is called free fatty acids and whether there are detained non-fatty acids, but this is how they call it, FFA, so nutritionists would know. And the fatty acids are then broken down in the liver. I'm waiting here for 5 minutes and the traffic light doesn't. No, I will not cross a red traffic light when the camera is switched on in Singapore. There are people in Singapore, there are not policemen, but some government officials. They are hiding behind bushes and trees and check whether people do jaywalking. That's how they call it, the crossing of the red traffic lights when you're not supposed to do. So we are now with the triglycerides. Back to our body. And we have the triglycerides have been broken down to the glycerol plus the free fatty acids, and then these free fatty acids are then broken down in the liver to three, I believe mainly three, could be more, but found three sorts of ketones. And expect me to know the three ketones? One is beta hydroxybutyrate. Another one is acetoacetate. That sounds weird for me, like a wooden wood, acetoacetate. And the third one is acetone. So all these go into the bloodstream of the body, and I believe some of them, or all of them, are then reaching the cells. And again, once the mitochondria is there and is healthy, then would take the ketones, convert it into an intermediate product, same as for the glucose and the alcohol. It's called acetyl CoA. I've said that before, right? I believe so. Yeah. It's a really slippery floor. I need to pay attention because I have ruptured my tendon in similar conditions. So, but the advantage, today my body weight is only 110.6 and not 134 kg. So it's an advantage. Then that producing these ketones would not only produce the ketones themselves, but also water. And that is what causes the weight loss. Because I believe it's a very inefficient way of producing water, so you lose weight, and at the same time that explains why I can do a dry fasting day, because the water for the body during dry fasting day comes from the conversion of fat cells into ATP, which is done in the mitochondria. So, what was the next thing I wanted to tell you? Yeah, we have talked about the three fuels. One is glucose, next one is alcohol, third one is ketones. And yeah, I read this article let's say, switching between the three is very healthy. And the more often you do it, the faster the body reacts, and is also more efficient. And I can really attest to that, because when I started this fasting program every week about 6 months ago, then the first few weeks or months, this was really painful switching, because the body doesn't like to do that. But today, actually, I can switch several times per day between glucose and ketones, between alcohol and glucose, and actually, if you want, that explains also, if you want to lose weight, then better don't drink alcohol, because it seems to me that once you drink alcohol, then the body signals to the fat cell, stops signaling to the fat cells that they need to convert, essentially, to release the free fatty acids. So, want to lose weight, no alcohol. It also means, for me, good reason, forgot, 8 kgs in 4 weeks, no alcohol. And that, we are now over 30 minutes. I don't even know whether you're still here. Maybe I cut this into 2 or 3 lessons, but what I want to say is the following. There are a few other ways. The body can consume protein when it's in autophagy, after the ketones are, the thing all happen next to each other. Is not that the body switch one source completely and then taps into the next one and then the next one. This all goes in parallel. So there's also this autophagy, when the body nurtures on the proteins that come from the body itself. And those proteins include the dead cells that are there or close to die. Then the cells that are obsolete, like when you lose weight and you do it too fast and there's no autophagy in between, then you get those fasting wrinkles or even flaps, skin flaps. So you can remove those by going into ketosis on a regular basis. Yeah. I'm sure that it's a nice bar here, but no alcohol, especially not for the lunch. And now is lunchtime. Next issue. It fits so nicely here, and I don't want to set up a new episode for the metabolism of the cancer cells. A cancer cell, metabolism-wise, is a very interesting thing. It's very complicated, because a cancer cell alone cannot survive easily, because they form groups that work differently and have different jobs. And but just as an overview, so that you know where we are. In a cancer cell, the blood glucose, which is essential for cancer cells. So if you have cancer, cut away the glucose. Next, in the watery part of the cell, the glucose is converted into the substance pyruvate that we had already. And then, different from the other mechanisms, the mitochondria is not picking up that pyruvate, but instead the pyruvate is converted into lactate. Don't ask me how that works, but I can tell you that's how it works, or at least what the literature says. And then is a very complicated mechanism. The lactate is exported and then taken up from other cells that nurture mostly on. So, taking all this together, there are four ways for cells to produce energy. There are even more. We didn't talk about the protein and then there are a few others or so, but as far as my fasting is concerned, there are 4 ways. And what is important is what this article says about this metabolic flexibility is that you regularly switch, and I would recommend switch between the normal mode where the cell burns glucose and the fasting mode where the cell burns ketones from the fat. And of course, if you can prolong the ketonic mode so that the body enters into autophagy, where it eats the leftover cells that are not wanted, inclusive that's cells that are close to die, or even cancer cells that died, because the good thing is the cancer cells, they have a hard time surviving on ketones. They need glucose, and so if you have cancer, go into ketonic probably, and things are soft or get soft. I've even seen 2 people that were healed from brain and lung cancer because they just didn't eat glucose anymore, and they lost so much weight that they looked like concentration camp inmates. And that's probably the thing that you need to do if you can. And so we are through. The next thing is, well, what I learned from this is stay away from alcohol, because of this intermediate product that is poisonous, as difficult as it is, but it is. And the second thing is switch between glucose mode and ketosis. That means my fasting day, and the turbo is the no dry fasting day, because then it's really a signal to the body that he not only needs the free fatty acids, but also the water from that process, and just to make it okay. It's a stress for the kidneys, yes, but in very short words. Now the next thing is how to test our mitochondria, and I believe the best test is if you do the VO2 max evaluation. I've spoken about that yesterday. I will show you in a few days how we test it, maybe even tomorrow. I'm not sure. So that's it for today. Well, it was a long one, 40 minutes almost, but it was also quite scientific and a lot of things to transport. I believe I'm also something like 6,000 steps, yeah, into my daily walking. Yeah, most of the thing done. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.